Hi, everyone. My name is Shai Reshef. I'm the president of University of the People, the first nonprofit, tuition-free, accredited American online university opening the gates of higher education for every student who could have not afforded it otherwise. But today, I have a great pleasure to have Judith Shapiro with us. And Judith is not only a friend and a great scholar. She has a very unique personality, which I'm sure you will hear about. So, Judith, why don't you start by telling us about, first of all, thank you for agreeing to be with us.
My pleasure.
And why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself, about your history? What have you done with your life all the way until getting to where you are right now?
Well, I'll give you a very brief version. And that is that I'm from New York City, more specifically from the borough of Queens. I won't start, with kindergarten, but I will say that I went to a wonderful public New York City high school during the time when most of my high school teachers, it was a very big school, public school, most of them were the sons and daughters of immigrants who had come. At that time, you could earn a very good living, middle-class lifestyle as a high school teacher. And I cannot tell you how strongly I remember all the teachers I had there. They were simply wonderful. They were dedicated. They were fabulous. And from high school, I'm not going to give you everything because it could take a while. From high school, I went to college at Brandeis. And at that time, Brandeis was younger than I was. And what was also the case is that applying to college was not something that could drive you totally crazy. You could afford college. You could apply only to 2 colleges and maybe also one safe school. And being at Brandeis when I was there, I simply cannot imagine a better college experience than that. Powerful liberal arts college preparation, strong departments. It really was very fortunate. So I don't know whether you want me to go on from there or talk about other things.
No, continue. It's fascinating. It's a different world than what we experience right now. So yes, please.
Well, so it was interesting. I assumed that I would go on in an academic career. And really a main reason for this is certainly that in those days, women were not as likely, I graduated in 1963, women were not as likely to go into law and business and all of those professions. But there was another reason, because Brandeis was also divided into 2 groups. On the one hand, there were the students who were going to go into law, business, finance, and all of that. The more traditional middle-class Jewish people that were going to do what their parents wanted them to do. Not my parents, and then there were the lefty bohemian intellectuals. And there were men and women. Most of the ones in the first group were men, but the bohemian intellectuals, men and women. And also during my college years, I worked as a folk singer with a group in Cambridge and Boston, including, for any of your audience who might really know about this stuff, the Club 47. That was the golden age of folk music. Joni Baez was just getting started then. So I just had a fabulous experience. So there I was, majoring in history, as it turned out, at Brandeis, figuring I'd go on in academic life. And since I'd been a history major, I decided I'd go on in history and ended up going to Berkeley in the fall of 1963. See, I always knew where to be at the right time. So anyone who knows about this, but it took me almost no time to realize that I didn't have the temperament to be a historian. And though you have called me a scholar, I really am more a teacher than a scholar. And I'm more an essayist and someone who likes to write opinions than I am someone who just can write a long, careful, scholarly research book. So there you have it. I ended up going And so what field was I going to go into after I decided not to go into history? Well, I thought about art history since I'd taken it and liked it. And then, although I'd never taken an undergraduate course in anthropology, somebody sounded interesting, sent me a couple of books, and I had the brains to understand that art history would have the same problems as history. That is, be very, scholarly and specific. Anthropology was everything. Cultural anthropology, archaeology, physical anthropology, linguistic anthropology, and Columbia, where I went to graduate school, is the birthplace of American anthropology. So that's where I went to graduate school. Wow. That's where I became an anthropologist.
So, okay. So let's go back for a second. And I don't know if I should ask you to sing something or, I don't know. I leave it to you, but.
Well, do you want me to pick a language you like Hebrew?
Well, maybe, sure.
A little bit. Anahava babanot, anahiri panai helai, ahiri panai helai, anahav. I think that's enough. Now, I should tell you that what I really like is singing in lots of different languages. I can't speak all of them. I don't speak Hebrew, for example. But so I'm like a parrot. In other words, I can hear the sounds. I have convinced people when I speak a Greek song that I am actually a Greek person.
Do you want to give us a Greek song?
Enough of that.
Wow. Well, I think that this piece will cut and will promote it. That would be a great UoPeople promotion.
Right? I think so. The only languages I actually really speak, other than English, are French and Portuguese.
Portuguese, wow.
Yes, we don't need to sing those songs right now.
But let's go for a second to Berkeley in the 60s. That should be a great experience by itself. How was it?
I didn't really stay there very long. So that's not something that, I can say a great deal about. I had a longer experience at Berkeley later when I did a postdoctoral year in Berkeley in, I think it was 74, 75 in linguistic anthropology, which I became very interested in. And it was a very interesting and wonderful place to be. But that's something, Berkeley, and I can't tell you a lot about Mario Savio and things like that, unfortunately.
Okay. So from Berkeley, you went back to Columbia?
Yeah.
So tell us about
I had a gap year, as they call it now. But then I was at Columbia in graduate school. And in those days, you could get a fellowship to go to graduate school when you'd never even taken an undergraduate course.
Really?
Yeah, well, if you had a very strong undergraduate record. This is part of a larger theme that I won't develop at length, which has to do with, I think I was born at the right time.
Okay, so tell us about your career afterwards.
Well, I went from my first job from Columbia was at the University of Chicago, which was the center for anthropology. But and I have remained close and admiring of the University of Chicago, have many ties there. But going there was a very difficult experience because I went there as a graduate student who hadn't yet finished my dissertation. Everyone else in that department, aside from being a man, was like in their 40s, 50s, and 60s and super famous. They moved me into the office of arguably one of the two most famous anthropologists of the 20th century, who was going from there, Clifford Geertz, to the Princeton Institute for Advanced Study. So, I mean, it was fascinating and traumatic. Instead of staying at Chicago for a second term, I made a very wise move and went to Bryn Mawr College, where I was offered a job. You see, what Chicago should have done was to have appointed not one, but 2 or 3 women at the same time, and they should have been senior, established figures in the field. You don't start by having your first woman be a graduate student. So in any event, then I went to Bryn Mawr, and that was the beginning of decades of a wonderful, happy experience at women's colleges. which I hadn't gone to one of myself. But I was at Bryn Mawr for 19 years, first as a faculty member, then as their first provost, because they hadn't felt the need for one before. And then I went directly from there to Barnard, where I was president for 14 years. So those were great years.
Tell us about Barnard, because you have done a lot there. So please share with us, because I think it is also relevant to your people in a way. So please.
Yeah, well, actually, what's interesting is you're reminding me of how many other members of the advisory council that I know, and one of whom actually was my Columbia University president colleague, George Rupp. And we ended up having a really wonderful partnership. One of the things I guess one thing is that being a college president then is not as horrifying as being a college president now. That's along with the line of, being born at the right time. So Barnard had the wonderful combination of being both a true liberal arts college and a liberal arts college community, and having a partnership with a major research university right across the street. So some people who may have thought that it was too limited to go to a liberal arts college could go to Barnard and also have resources across the street at Columbia. It was also in New York City at a time when the city itself was very different from when I was a graduate student. When I was a graduate student at Columbia, that neighborhood was dangerous, and people wouldn't necessarily want their kids to be hanging out there. Now, of course, or even the time I was there, it was a major, major attraction. Now, one of the things I really valued about my years at Barnard is that I had a very rewarding, very close relationship with the faculty, because they knew I was interested in their work. They knew I got a kick out of them. I liked them. So presidents always get to have that wonderful experience with the faculty. The other thing I really wanted to do was, as I would put it, decolonialize the relationship between Barnard and Columbia, and so that it was that it felt really more of a partnership. And I think that went very well. And I think the relationship, and there, another member of the advisory council is my successor, Deborah Spar. And she really did a lot for the relationship between the college and the city. And also, by then, Barnard, really was standing very firmly on its own feet.
Okay, so let's jump to UoPeople. Why have you decided to join us?
Well, as it turns out, we go back to Columbia. The person who introduced me to the University of the People was David Cohen.
Yeah.
Am I?
David Cohen, right.
Yeah, I'm losing a few marbles up here. David Cohen was the vice president for arts and sciences at Columbia, which is how I got to know him. And he's the one that told me, of course, about this University of the People, which I found so interesting for many reasons. One, of course, it's international, cross-cultural quality was very appealing. It also seemed to have the right way of doing online education in a way that there were actually classes of a reasonable size where students could have a real connection with faculty members and the teachers. I'm just so admiring of these teachers who are not in it for the money, to put it mildly, but who really connect with their students. And I mean, in the online world, it turns out that the University of the People, without planning to, has become a pioneer as far as that's concerned. And I also really cared about the way in which University of the People was combining thoughtful professional and pre-professional education, professional preparation in professions where the students could actually flourish, with a liberal arts base, because I really do think those students students generally need both.
I can't agree more with you. I think that we are, and for those who don't know us enough, we offering a business administration, computer science, health science, and education, the degrees that are very practical and in demand, and a lot of our students need it in order to improve their future, have a better future, but at the same time, we're a liberal arts school. So 1/3 of the degree is general studies, which is extremely important because we believe that the students should come out well-rounded individuals, not only knowing computer science, but be good human being with critical thinking and everything that makes us a good people and good people for the society that we live in. And we have students now from 200 countries. So it is an American education, but we do it all over the world. And I think that Judith, as part of the President's Council, which is a council of more than 20 presidents of amazing universities, such as Barnard and Columbia that you mentioned, and actually Deborah Spar that you just mentioned, is the person who is in charge of our collaboration with Harvard Business School Online. So this group of amazing scholars leads us to become not only a good online school, but to have a mission and to make sure that we give good education to our students. So yeah. So first of all, thank you for doing it. And
also the liberal arts is also useful, what they learn in the liberal arts course in their work life, because there are all these studies, that show that what employers are often looking for are the kinds of general communication skills, writing skills, and all of that. But when you also mention, the other thing, which gets me to someone else on the President's Council whom I know, the other thing that University of the People does is it studies itself thoughtfully. And so I'm losing my marbles.
Cappy?
Yes, Cappy Hill. Cappy Hill.
Cappy Bond Hill. Yeah.
Yes, Cappy
wow,
Bond
I'm
Hill.
Genius. How did I guess?
Second president of Vassar. Also, Cappy Bond Hill and I were together at the Ithaca Harbors, and she is now head of Ithaca research. And she's also then, of course, on the President's Council. And so you have all kinds of people there who we get to see each other. We enjoy seeing each other, but they also bring all kinds of experience to the advisory, to the President's Council.
It's true. We have John Sexton from NYU. We
Absolutely.
have Haifa Jamal El from Saudi Arabia. We have Tim O'Shea from Edinburgh. We have Suzanne Fortier from McGill. So we have them from all over. And
and from Barnard, you have Jane McAuliffe, who
exactly.
Yeah, we weren't from Bryn Mawr. We were not at Bryn Mawr at the same time, but then she's at the Smithsonian. So you've got everything.
Yeah, we have. I think first of all, for me to meet all these amazing scholars is a great pleasure. But we learn so much, and we definitely see this form, the President Council, as our top academic leadership, who actually leads us to continue being a good institution, and I think that what makes us unique is, in a way, the combination between being online and moving with our online and being in the forefront of the online education, or on the other hand, getting the support of the traditional establishment, so we get both the knowledge and put the knowledge and the technology together, and that's what makes us so unique.
And I was very impressed when you developed the whole Arabic side of the program, and the idea of a multilingual possibility depending on where one goes, and particularly that initiative. Very, very impressive.
You're right, and we are very proud of it, because following the war in Syria, we had a lot of Syrian refugees approaching us, and we had scholarship for them. But then we realized that in 2 years, we had 125,000 Syrian knocking on our doors, but they couldn't make it because of the language. So we said, so let's develop a program in Arabic. So we have developed a program in Arabic. Now we have 3,500 students studying with us in Arabic, and we see it growing, and it's a new phenomena for us to teach a new challenge to teach in a different language, but we are very proud of it.
Well, it's very important because you know what they say, that people who speak 3 languages are trilingual, people who speak 2 languages are bilingual, people who speak 1 language are American. So we're lucky, I think, to have you rather than an American, maybe, as head of this.
Yeah. So, so let me ask you my final question, which is, I hope, well, the question is, what advice will you give our students from your life experience?
Well, my life experience is so much easier and so different, but certainly to value this combined education they're getting of professional preparation and this liberal arts education that will serve them both. They will see how it serves them in their work, which I hope they get good jobs and enjoy very much. And what I like to say about a liberal arts education is that it makes the inside of your head an interesting place to spend the rest of your life, so that they will also have so many interests, so many things they want to read. I think they also need to remember that they're going to live. They're probably different ages. You probably serve age,
Right.
but for the younger ones, they're really going to live a very long time. And they therefore should give themselves the time and not be too frightened and hysterical at too early an age, and just see where their work and the rest of their life is going to take them. And they should really show their teachers how much they appreciate them.
It's so nice of you. Thank you so much. And that's actually the end of this amazing discussion talk. And Judith, thank you so much for joining us. And for our viewers, if you like this conversation, please subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends on the different channels. And thanks again.
See you soon.
See you.